well, you all know me, so I can skip the slides. I have some background in AI. I used to hang out at Google. I've done many attempts at startups since, so maybe I have a thing or two to add to the common struggle here. So let's start by talking about success. You guys have heard of Cal AI, I suspect, right? Do you
No,
know what Cal AI is and does?
no.
No? So this is a calorie tracking app. So you must have heard of MyFitnessPal. It's
Mhm.
this app that keeps track of all the nutrients and the things that you eat. And MyFitnessPal does it by scanning barcodes, and they have this massive database of all the products and all the ingredients of all the products, right? Well, Cal AI is let's use AI for this. And so you would just take a photo, that's what it does. You take a photo of your plate in front of you, and it guesstimates the nutrients in the food that you're eating. And this is massive, and lots of people use it, and lots of people know about it. And it was built by one dude. It was built by one dude using vibe coding tools before they were cool. So he was actually using ChatGPT directly and copying, pasting code, etc. And this guy is this 18-year-old asshole who is also like rich and very smart. My point with this is if he did it, we can do it, guys. This is like, this is for everybody. This is within our reach. Okay, we've got this. So, you've heard of Lovable, and I presume that a bunch of us have used it. Now, Lovable is pretty damn good, I think, for like starters, for beginners to get their hands dirty. But the Lovable does one of the parts of the thing that we want to build. It does the front end, much as, yes, front end is still a pain, but it's the thing that it does the best. And then there's this beautiful representation of what an app looks like. There's the front end and there's the back end. You know, the front end, it's all like rainbows and flowers and cute creatures. And the back end is all these tentacles and Cthulhu, like sleeps in the bottom of the ocean. So this everything that we're going to be vibe coding is going to be in this beautiful land of rainbows. Um, because actually building the backend is a pain, and we don't yet have good vibe coding solutions to fix the backend. So what things like Lovable and Claude with its artifacts and all that do really well at is this particular part of this diagram, the web app, which is, as you know, it's a bunch of text files, right? There's a bunch of HTML that gives the structure of the page. It's a bunch of CSS that tells the browser how to represent each element, how to draw it. There's a bunch of JavaScript, which is the code that runs on the front end that does the animations, the events. When you click on a button, what happens when this other event came? Should I render this? Should I not render that? And then this thing is JavaScript in the backend. This is Node.js. This is the idea that you can take the same code that you would run in the front end and run it in the backend for serving purposes. But anyway, this is kind of the thing that we can expect something like Lovable to work on. Then mobile apps are, you could build them in principle from also HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc., with some wrapper, with some containers. So things like Electron would make a thing that looks like a native app out of essentially a web page. But you can tell. You can kind of tell it's not a real native app. Like things are a bit slower, there's a bunch of stuff it doesn't do well, etc. But in principle, you can make something that you can deploy to like an app store or the Play Store that is an app, but is actually still made of the same technology under the hood, or with like a little bit of like transpiling or a few like scaffolding bits. But anyway, this is our realm. Now on the other side, there's all of this like tentacles part, right? So you would need to, if you're doing anything beyond your fully local thing where you don't store any data, there's no authentication, there's no interaction between users, like it's just fully like on your device, cool, then you can just stay in the side. But if you want any of those other features, you need a server. You need some computer somewhere that will listen to calls from your app, from your web app or your mobile app, to then run some logic, make some decisions, consult a database, get some data back, make some more calls, make some more decisions, maybe consult an external API, which is also a server with a database somewhere else, right? So this is ends up being just servers and databases all the way down that run all of these like complex and confusing frameworks and stuff. But can we get rid of this right now? Can we, like, for the time being, avoid it? Yes, we can, because of the magic of the cloud. We can just assume that somebody else has dealt with this and will fix our problem for us. Of course, there is no cloud. It's just somebody else's computer. This is a famous sticker that you see on lots of computer science people's laptops. These are dots. All of these dots represent computers that your stuff will be running on. These are like big data centers, which are warehouses full of racks and racks and racks of computers where your stuff will run. Now, in the bad old days, I'd say, we used to do monolithic apps where the front end would either run partly in the backend, really, like some of the rendering of the page would be on the backend side. Currently, okay, that's mostly just pure front end, like it renders on your device. But then there's the backend, which is, I said, the server that has to interact with this. And then there's some database somewhere where you store state, right? This is a monolithic app. With time, we've slowly moved towards a more microservice-oriented architecture where instead of having one server, you have all of these separate servers somewhere that have separate databases that deal with separate things. Like one deals with authentication, and one deals with file storage, and one deals with maybe LLM calls or whatever it is that you're doing in your app. These would be kind of like separate services. And now we're in this new world, which we're going to take advantage of, where we can go, quote unquote, serverless. It's quote unquote, like there is a server somewhere. You just don't have to think about it. Somebody else has created an API, which you can just directly use and not think about the actual server. You just call an endpoint with some authentication token and you're good. And it does the thing for you. So authentication, like APIs of all kinds, file storage, etc. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, unless you guys are crazy and want to talk about running your own VPS in the cloud, which is what I'm doing because I'm a masochist. But otherwise, to get started, I would get started serverless. So before we get into that, unless you have questions, no? So far, good. So before we get into that, I want to go through these, like a few slides of a friend of mine, Seth. Thank you, Seth, for sharing these with me. Because the worst thing you can do when you're starting vibe coding, which is what I did as well, is to just kind of jump right in and say, we're just going to do this. It's going to be so easy. I'll just describe what I want. It'll build it for me. You end up with more trouble. It turns out it's actually better to be prepared a bit. So number one, yes, not a magic wand. You'll still need to put lots of hours and lots of time and dedication. You have to be aware that this doesn't do everything perfectly. And so you will get things like, these are all like in the news in the last maybe like month or two. People got hacked and their projects on Lovable. There was this database deletion on Replit where like all this data was lost. And then you can run into like ridiculous bills, right? If you're not careful about how you scale your demand your services, this stuff, can cost you a lot of money if you're not careful. So there are lots of like asterisks to all of it. It's not a magic wand. So project scoping is important. It's worth spending 10 minutes now to save 10 hours
I have
later,
a question.
right? Yeah, go on.
What was the cost there? Was people sued them, or there was like mishandling of financial information, or what was
No,
happening?
no, neither of these. This is simply they didn't close their database properly. I can't remember the exact story, but it's something along the lines of you don't put some limits on the queries that you can run. And so you end up running too many queries because somebody, hacks your endpoint or like does a DDoS or something along these lines. They just use this service too much automatically, and then they charge you a lot of money. This is what the last one is about.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, we can Google
But
them later. Like, I don't have the whole that context. Yep, cool. We talk about it later. So yeah, scoping. Don't waste weeks building the wrong thing. Don't use the wrong tool. Don't over-engineer. I've seen this live. People going with Claude or whatever through every single thing that they want their dream app to do, and they end up with a thing that looks like Salesforce. Like it's GDPR compliant and it has like warranties of like the uptime and stability and availability. I'm like, no, man, you're building like a to-do list. Like, just forget it. Just make the first thing and throw it out there, right? So be aware of the scope. Don't overthink things. Just throw something out there and iterate. So yeah, ship quickly and build momentum. Okay, 80/20. We all know that part. So this is the bits that I really like. the complexity ladder, right? There's Seth came up with these 4 levels of complexity, which I like a lot. So the first one would be, as I said earlier, something that just runs on your device in your browser, like a cloud artifact. It's a widget. It's like, if I put in these like 20 numbers, compute something for me, draw a graph. If I give you maybe one image, you want to like draw something on top of the image, maybe, although maybe that goes to like level 2. Something very simple, right? No user accounts needed, no data storage needed in the cloud. So yeah, calculators, quizzes, forms. Level 2 would be something like multiple pages. You switch between pages. There's some sort of workflow, and there is some data stored, but potentially locally. You store it in local storage, not in the cloud. So a portfolio site of yourself, a landing page where you can actually book something. Actually, I think this kind of goes level 3, or a simple game like Snake or whatever. And then level 3 is probably what we're here to build, which is a full app which has users, and it has data for these users that needs to be stored in the cloud so that they can retrieve it from different devices. And maybe has different user types. Maybe it has admins and users, or different rungs. It has editors, whatever. Or maybe you actually charge them, right? So you have to integrate something like Stripe or another payment processor. So any marketplace, any SaaS tool built monthly, or booking of anything. And then number 4 is like the top on this ladder thing, which is do some research first for sure. And it says, well, multiple stakeholders. So you maybe have a marketplace, right? Where you have like the seller and the buyer, and the seller has one app really, which is where they set up the things they're selling and they create all these entries and blah, blah. And the buyer has a completely different set of interactions and experiences and interfaces. And yeah, maybe you have to integrate with other APIs, and maybe you have to consider regulatory stuff. Yeah, Airbnb, etc. So this is like quick checklists, as I said earlier, if any of these are yes, then you're on this rung. So do you need login? Yes, you're already on like 3 or 4. Do you need to store data? Yes, you're already on 3 or 4. Do you need multiple users, etc. Do you guys, is this super clear? Should we move on, or should I go through this, each of them?
Are you
What
going
do
to
you
share
think?
the slides at the end?
I can. Yeah, I can send you. Yeah, no problem. For sure.
Okay, because I'm here taking notes, but like, yeah, also that
No,
would
no,
help.
don't worry. I'll
Yeah,
I'll
if
send
you
you a link for
share the
sure.
slides, I don't need to like get every detail.
Okay, cool, perfect. Anyway, so there's this like quick like checklist, if it does this, if it does this, then does it need more than 3 pages? Do you need to upload images, etc.? Or if you don't need any of those, then just gonna go to Claude and make an artifact, which you can immediately share, right? Well, it says Claude, it's the friendliest one, and I think the best one, but you can use Gemini, you can use, I think even Copilot does it now. There's like a million options for something to build you a really quick and dirty like website. So now we get to the meaty part. What should you use? What can you use? Now there are a million options and only one life, and it's short and it's getting shorter. So we won't go through all of the possible things that you could use. I would recommend the following. I think before you start building anything, you should spec it out to some degree, and the further up on the rung you are, the longer the specking should be. I use Claude for that. I really think it's absolutely the best. I use Claude Code if I'm in an existing project. So if I'm adding like a big feature, a big chunk to something I already have, I will use Claude Code because it will have the context of the repo that I'm in. Like it will start checking the files, reading, collecting its own documentation. So Claude Code is my recommendation. I've also used Gemini with success. ChatGPT, not so much. Turns out to be poor at specking. Can't explain why. It's just like, I don't know. It's terrible at writing. It drops some like random like jargon, computer science jargon that I don't understand. I'm like, you wire the thing with the spec with the what are you talking about? Claude is very comprehensible, writes very well, and it's very good at asking you questions. When you say, "Ask me
And
questions," what should we do next? Yeah.
can you define specking?
So have you heard of product managers? Do you know what a product manager does? Yes,
Um,
no?
like in real life or like as a program?
Yes, as
Yeah.
a person. Yeah. So product manager does a lot of things, but one of the things that they do, oh, I'm having a new person. Who's this new person? Coming in. Hello, hello. Okay. All right. So what does a PM do? Well, one of the things they do is they collect requirements and build specifications for new features or new products. And they build this thing called the PRD, the product requirements document, which is usually very long and very boring, and it has so many sections. We don't need the whole thing because a lot of the PRD is actually about aligning the understanding of different departments in the company. So you have to get buy-in from engineering, and you have to align with like marketing, and you have to get sales to like sign off. There's a bunch of like complication. We don't need that because we are a one-person company, and in fact, it's all AI anyway. But a bunch of the stuff in the PRD we do need, which is what we're building, why we're building it, who it's for, and what the stories look like. I'm the user. What does it look like for me to use this thing? So a story, I arrive and I sign in and then I check my orders. Another story, I arrive and I want to sell a thing. So I create a new sell thing and, and you just go through the journey of this person doing the thing they want to do with the app, right? So that's a PRD. I don't want to call it a PRD here because I said it's way thicker, it's very denser. I found out that I don't need all the sections in a PRD, but you do need these ones that I mentioned. So I call that a spec. Does that make sense?
And that would include like critical user journey, like these concepts,
Yep.
such as that.
So Ryan can explain better to us. You've been in the industry for longer than I, that's for sure. So anyway, so that's the spec part, which is when you define what you're building, who you're building it for, and what it should do, right? As part of this, it's good if you already have an idea of the tech, of the stack, of the infrastructure you're going to use, like what we're going to use to make the front end with. Yep.
So the spec is just to have that as an information, or that's what you feed in then to make your prototype?
Yes, that's what you feed in to make the prototype.
Okay.
So you
it's
iterate
basically
over.
a big prompt.
Yes.
Don't
It's a structured prompt. That's right.
Okay.
But
Cool.
I do use AI to formulate the prompt before I
Of
put it
course.
in, right? So I go through an iterative process where I refine the specking prompt or the prompt that is later the prototype prompt.
Correct.
And also you also mentioned we should already know the technologies we're going to use. I suppose you can also have
helps.
that like outsourced to AI to come up with that.
So correct. I agree. In my case, after doing this, maybe 20 times now to some degree of complexity, I've ended up with the stack that I like. I know what I want the front end to be made in. I know what the database should look like. I know what sort of authentication we're going to use. I don't have to think that. That's a given. But sometimes you might want to consider options. Maybe, maybe the project's a bit different. Maybe you want to use some new stack or whatever. Like maybe there are other requirements. So that's just the specking part, which actually is very important. And I encourage everybody to start here and not at the second step, which is where we're all tempted to start. We're all just going to jump in and we're like, yeah, build me an app that does this. And then we waste 3 hours iterating over things that don't work instead of just knowing very well what it should do and just iterating over the implementation, which is the idea, right? So Lovable, I showed you earlier, it's a great starter. It's great. As you have nothing, you start from somewhere. Lovable is a good place. And I like the frameworks. I like the stack they use. So if you create a Lovable project, it will create a React, Vite, Tailwind, ShadCN project altogether. Those things might mean something to you, might not mean something to you, but it's a bunch of choices in the stack of tech that you could use that to me make a lot of sense, because there are other choices that you could make at each step, which to me make a lot less sense. And we can talk about this in a bit, but just know that it's a nice template, basically. You end up with a very nice template. It's a good starter. Google AI Studio, maybe the template is not as clean, but it's free. It's really free and it's good. Like it works really well. It uses Gemini 2.5 because you want to like show it off. You can just go there and build a bunch of stuff, and it's also super easy to use and download. We can look at it now as well. V0 is Vercel's own thing. I think actually it was one of the first ones to come out. Bolt New is a competitor of Lovable. It's on par with Lovable, but I think they're trying to focus more on mobile apps now. I think I'm trying to go in that direction. Figma Make is really good if you don't want to actually build the thing, you want to build the UI. You want to see, like, prototype the UI. You want to see what the UI would look like without building any code. Figma Make is actually really good. It's prettier, like it does nicer stuff, and then you can of course directly edit it inside Figma, as opposed to having to talk to Claude. Why is this like, thing moving around? Why can I not get the size of this right? Right? You can just go and click on the element and change the size, right? If you know what you're doing, because then Figma is not the most user-friendly interface either. If you know a bit of Figma, you've used it before, then it's probably a good place to start. Then A0, I only found it today making these slides in the morning. Apparently, it's like Lovable for apps directly. They publish for you to the app stores and whatever. I have not tried it, so I can't say anything about it except that it has, good reviews and it's backed by Y Combinator. That's all I have. And then deploy. Well, you will need to use GitHub. It's the nexus of all of this, is where your code should live. And it's really good for all kinds of integrations. You have all these things called hooks, where when you push to GitHub, something happens somewhere else. So like you update your code, maybe you put a tag on it, maybe it's a separate branch, maybe it's not, you deploy from main, from master, it doesn't matter. You just push to GitHub and stuff happens, right? So somewhere your code gets compiled and then it gets deployed and then it's served to other people, right? Where would that happen? Well, Vercel is the obvious choice nowadays, is what everybody's using. It's really nice to get started. It's super friendly. It's super easy. The moment you have more than whatever 1,000 users is going to cost you a kidney and maybe an arm. It's really, really expensive as it scales, but it's very convenient. Yep.
I don't know what deploy means.
So remember how there is no cloud, it's just somebody else's computer? It means you put your code on their computer and they run it for you. And so other people can access that code externally on a computer that you yourself don't have to run because somebody else is running for you. So deployment is putting it on a server, but in this case, we're going to put it on somebody else's server.
But isn't Lovable already like providing you with something?
It does a bare minimum version of it. So you can see Lovable websites externally. You can share them immediately, but they don't have any backend at all. There's zero backend to Lovable except the compilation of the code into like a version of the compiled JavaScript as a compiled JavaScript, minified, that gets served to the user, and that's it. It doesn't run any backend logic, right? And it cannot, and I'm not sure it will serve domains for you. I actually haven't checked. Maybe it will. Anyway, it's a version 1. Like again, it's a good place to start. I wouldn't keep it unlovable. I would get it out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah. So I haven't used GitHub, but for me, that's like where people like share their code when they program something.
Yep. You don't have to share it. It can be private.
Okay.
You can if you want.
So you can host your code there.
Yep.
For the website.
Yeah. So
yes,
maybe I'll just chime in. So I'm a novice, but I did some vibe coding for Vitalist based stuff last year. But basically the way that I use GitHub is it's most useful, even if you're not sharing it with anybody or even have a team, it's useful for tracking changes, right? So when you're vibe coding, you make a lot of small changes to your code, but it might be difficult to roll back to like a certain state if you made a change that you don't like and you don't know why it's not working. So actually GitHub is, you can ask Claude to set up GitHub for you. You will just like create an account and then you authenticate, log into your account. And then it will basically, you can save your code to your GitHub account and it will track all the changes so that you can roll back to an earlier state.
That's right. So the whole point of Git, which is where GitHub comes from, is it's a version control system, which is kind of like a shitty Dropbox on the command line, is the best analogy I have. It's a way to share code files with other people and see their changes. Kind of like a Google Docs if it was made by Unix nerds, right? It tracks who edited what and when this file changed, and there are several versions, but those versions can fork, right? They can diverge over time, and you can have versions of versions of versions, but then you can reunite the versions, and that's called merging. This is when you have like a branch, and then you bring it back to the main branch. It's complex, it's annoying. I myself don't understand it very well, but it's the standard. It's what everybody uses. And GitHub is amazing because it's free. It's really well integrated with everything. Like you can hook on all kinds of behavior that should happen when you push your code in there. There's all these things called tests, where you want to make sure that your code didn't break. You didn't change something that broke your code. So you have some other code that will run to check that the code that you just pushed in will still give out the same output that you expect it to give. So GitHub runs these tests for you. It's complex, but it's useful. It won't cost you anything to just have it there. Like it's a good place for you to keep your code. And as you learn and grow as a developer, you'll find other uses for it. So as GitHub, as Vercel, as a place to deploy serverless, as we said earlier. And then Netlify and Railway are just competitors to Vercel. They're, I think, mostly equivalent. I'm sure they all have their kinks. I haven't used Netlify or Railway, but I know they do the same thing. You connect the GitHub repo and they publish it for you. And then where do you store your data? This is only about where do you put your code and how does that code get given to anybody and how do you run backend logic? That was Vercel, Netlify, and Railway. Where do you store the data? Well, you store it either on Firebase if you're doing something to do with Google, or you store it on Supabase, which is the open source? Yes, the open source version of Firebase, and is what everybody's doing now. Now, Supabase has another cool thing, which is they've done the hard work for you of integrating pretty much all of the open authentication OAuth endpoints, so you can sign in with Google. You can sign in with Microsoft. You can sign in with Apple. You can sign in with email if you want. You can sign in with anything, right? So all of the sign in with options, they've implemented that for you, and it's clicking a bunch of buttons and enabling a bunch of stuff, and then it just works. Theory, quote unquote, it just works. You will have troubles, but it's way better than you having to do it yourself. So anyway, I like Supabase. So of all of this so far, I can tell you that the choices are Claude Code if you can, Claude if you can't. Lovable is a good place to start. Put it all on GitHub, deploy on Vercel. Use Supabase for authentication and storage.
Quick question, Supabase, you say it's open source, so you're
Yep.
hosting it yourself because they also offer
Can if you
paid
want,
hosting?
but it's also free to a large, they're very generous with their free tier. It's paid, like they run it for you if you don't want to run your own servers, which again, we don't at this point. So for like little hobby thing that we're doing right now, totally fine to start with Supabase. Again, like Vercel. At some point, if you have 20,000 users, it might start to cost you lots of money. But for now, until you get to that point, you can start for free.
And that's what you use. You use Supabase free version.
Yep.
For your projects.
Yeah, well, not for all of them, but yes, like for like quick stuff, vibe coded, yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Cool.
And then this is the kind of like version 1, right? We've got to the point where we have something that's deployed, that runs, that we can modify, but is deployed to the servers, etc. And we have user accounts and we have stored data. But now we want to make it better. Well, there's only so far that you can go with online, like Lovable or Bolt or whatever. Like it gets to the point where it's actually hard to collaborate. It's hard to push further. It gets more and more complex. So that's when you want to start developing locally. And for that, I do use Cursor. I like it a lot. I use Claude Code. It's amazing at bug fixing. It's amazing at specking. It's amazing at some front-end edits, actually. That's better than GPT-5. I use Codex, which is GPT-5 Codex. It's OpenAI's command line interface thing. Now, both Claude Code and Codex, which used to run on the command line, so like nerd, like terminal, black, and, like just text, now they have extensions for Visual Studio Code, VS Code, which is like a graphical user interface and integrated development environment, an IDE. So you have nice looking extensions. So it looks good. It's graphical, like it's like ChatGPT inside the thing. So I use those. In fact, I use Claude Code and Codex inside of Cursor. So I have like 3, columns of like different coding assistants, which I can show you later. And then Gemini in the command line is also pretty good and it's basically free. So it's also nice to have if you don't want to pay, because the others cost money. Both Cursor, Claude Code, and Codex none of those will run on a free plan. All of those now cost at least 20 a month. I'm paying for all of them and I'm very happy. So I'm not saying don't pay. It depends on what usage you expect to get. So this is, I think, the most valuable slide that I have in this presentation. And I think this is the end of it. I think this is, that's it. No more slides. Questions?
Okay. So first, I never use Claude Code. Do you recommend paying for Pro? Do I need Pro for Claude Code?
If you want to run Claude Code, you need to pay for a subscription for Anthropic. You don't get it on the free plan.
Okay. And then the next question is, so basically the things that would cost money would be like Claude Code, Lovable. I mean, so from what I really need is like a Claude Code costs money, but Lovable also costs money.
Lovable costs more money. They resell you Claude. Like they use Claude under the hood, most likely and most often, and they will just charge you more. So every
But I'll
credit that
need
you pay,
Lovable for making the prototype.
you don't. So it's free
I
to
mean,
start.
unless I use Google AI Studio or something else, right?
Also free. So Lovable gives you 5 free what's the word, prompts per day. So you can start a project and you get 4 iterations on it until you run out of tokens. I think that's how it works. I'm not sure exactly it's 5 or there's another limit on tokens as well. But basically you can get to a point where, okay, you can already click things and interact with it. And when you get hooked, they go like, now you ran out of tokens. You have to pay us, right? Which lots of people do, and I'm very happy, and it's a good product, and I don't hate it or anything. But I prefer to get to that point. This is again just for onboarding, people who may be newbies to this world. Myself, I no longer use Lovable. I just start directly in Cursor. I start with Claude Code to do the spec, and then I just give it to GPT-5 Codex, and I say build it, and then I give that to Claude Code, and I say fix what GPT-5 built because I'm sure it's broken, and that's my current flow. And I already know which stack I'm going to use, and I just tell it use Vite, use this version, use React, use that thing, so it's all in the spec. But if you don't know that, you start with Lovable, you get a nice template out of it, a nice V0, or you start with the 0. And then what you do is you connect that. This is maybe we should demonstrate this live. Should we do this? Do you guys want to
Yeah.
go through like?
But one
It'd
more
be cool to
question.
see your setup.
Yeah, one more
Sorry?
question before that. Can you so I got like the deploy, I got the GitHub, Supabase, Firebase, but what was the Vercel and Netlify about again?
Netlify and Railway are just like Vercel. Like pick any of those 3. They're basically
Yeah,
the same
what do they
thing.
do?
Exactly. Okay. So it's hard to define, but let's say serverless platform as a service. Closest we can get.
Okay.
Can you just say they host your stuff and make it available
Yeah.
for other people to
Yes.
look at it?
But GitHub does that too, right?
No, GitHub will not serve your page like ultimate files that people will run as an app. It doesn't do that. It only
I
serves
see,
it
I
through
see.
Doesn't GitHub have like
pages.
that?
Has GitHub
Right.
pages, which are fully static, and it's hard to deploy compiled stuff to them. You would have to create your own hooks. But yes, they do, but it's also limited in space. But yes.
Wait, but with all this modern React, JavaScript, front-end, auto-generated stuff, I mean, it's all static anyway at the end of the day.
You're not wrong. You
No.
could host it on GitHub pages. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Oh,
You
okay.
could do that.
I have so many more questions.
But I'm sure all of them will be answered as we go through an example. So maybe we
Okay,
should do
let's go.
that.
Sure.
Yeah? Okay, cool. I'll
Yeah.
do that. So do you guys have a thing in mind that you would like to build?
Why don't we try making a new mobilized Vitalist landing page so someone can
Right.
sign up for a membership subscription, and then that gives them access to some sort of internal portal account where they can manage their password and email and what stuff. I think actually Adam's working on this right now. Would it be
Okay.
a good example to see how you do it?
So there will be a landing page, right? This is
Yeah.
not directly a member section. There will be a landing page
Mhm.
for mobilized Vitalists. Yeah. Where you can sign up for a membership and subscription.
Mhm.
This is possible. I mean, of course it is, but integrating Stripe payments, this is a pain. Like this would take us, just that would take us like 2 hours of like signing up, creating accounts, moving cookies back and forth and putting API keys and determining what the page should look like and at what point you click the button. It's a I mean, it's doable. It's just a lot of like grunt work. So what I
So
would propose is we go through the mock flow of that, where we mock the fact that you would have paid, or just you just sign
Mhm.
up. Like you just go through a sign up, and once you signed up, then you get access to like a members only
Mhm.
area. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And then
Sure.
it's relatively easy. I mean, it's not conceptually hard or anything. It's just work that you have to do to then bring in the payments. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. What will be on that portal? What do we see?
Well, it should have the basic stuff, right? Like you should be able to manage your information, right? Like your name, email address, password, that kind of stuff. But then there should also be a section for video recordings, I guess, and maybe
Uh-huh.
perks. So that's what we have right now. So situation is we were using Webflow's internal membership
I was about
feature.
to say that Webflow. Yeah.
Yes, but
Nice.
then they're discontinuing it in January. So
Oh,
that's why
no
we're
way.
migrating. Yeah. So it's kind of a pain in the
Okay.
ass. But the whole thing was really janky anyways, because like you don't have that much control over it. It's very basic.
No problemo. Okay, I think we have enough to get started. So how do I get started? I would go to Claude. Yeah, just leave me alone. Cool. So we are here. I'm going to start this thing called Super Whisper because I don't want to type. So we have this list of things, and I'm going to say, so we're building a new and improved landing page and members only section for our wonderful initiative, the Vitalism Foundation. And then you get that. And we say something like, here is a list of features that we want for this new project, which I've already decided is like, let's build a product spec together. Ask me any questions you have. That somehow didn't get copied and pasted, but here we go. And alrighty. Let's go with Claude Sonnet 4.5, my favorite spec maker. It's also pretty fast, so it shouldn't think for too long. There it is. Alrighty, so now we get questions. And this is my favorite part, where you spend a good half hour answering questions that the AI is throwing at you. So what is the core mission of the Vitalism Foundation? Should I just copy and paste from like the existing website? Or
Yeah, I
what
can tell
was
you. It's
what's the
just
actual it's
oh yeah, maybe
Vitalism.io,
you
no?
just say go see
Just
vitalism.io.
go
Yeah.
to yes, Vitalism.io and read that it has everything you need. So that's the answer to the first one. Second, who are your target members? Do we know that?
People who are philosophically aligned with the idea that aging and death should be fighting aging and death should be humanity's #1 priority.
The humanities first priority. All right. Large is your current community. What are we now? 300 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
All right. Membership. What's your membership model? Single tier or multiple tiers? Multiple
We'll have
tiers.
2 tiers, yeah.
2 tiers. Do we call them things? What are the
Yeah.
names and what's the price?
Yeah, one of them is Catalyst, and then that's like $29 a month. And then I think Pioneer is the premium tier, which is $129 a month.
Wonderful. All right. Cool. All right. Got that. What else? Planning a free tier. Yes, let's do free tier. This is so that we can get started, right? Just for this
Yeah.
landing page. Tell me about the video content, what type of recordings. Doesn't matter. And just have a section for videos. All right. Beyond videos that are member-only features that we want to put in there.
Yeah, just tell it to make its best guess. Let's see. Let's just see
All
what
right.
it creates.
Surprise me. Okay. Existing systems we need to integrate with. Do we?
Uh, yeah,
Make
it
me a
doesn't.
CRM while you're at it. Okay.
Can I see
What
the previous
else?
prompt again?
Building a new improved blah
Thank you.
blah. These are the things. Let's build a spec together. Ask me questions. What's your timeline for launch? We're launching tomorrow. Okay. All right. Give me the spec. Jump. So it might not be perfect, right? I mean, normally you would want to actually go through 2 or 3 iterations where I keep going, ask me more questions, ask me more questions, ask me more questions. It's super useful because often you don't know what you're doing, and the questions are useful to actually make you think about, make decisions, right, at a time. It's like chop style. All right. Blah, 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 blah. Community hub, surprise number 1. Look at that. We can discuss things by topic. Okay, cool. CRM system, surprise number 2. That's not surprise. I told it to make it. Okay. Analytics. Okay, it's got a bit complicated. Recommendations. So I'm going to override its recommendations, right? So it's telling me here to use Next.js, which is the default of all of these systems. Problem is Next.js gets absolutely impossible to manage the moment you move away from the most basic of sites. The moment you add absolutely anything that is not like in a template, it becomes a nightmare. So I hate it, and so I don't use it. And I use Vite instead, VIT, React Vite. It's still React. It's fully serverless. Like it doesn't actually require Node.js in backend, whereas Next.js always does. Or at least I couldn't figure out how to make it not require it, because the way it deals with like the paths on the URLs is just a nightmare. Anyway, I'm just going to change this to Vite. Node.js, I don't think we even need it. I think we're just going to change backend to just fully Supabase. Actually, you know what? Well, doesn't matter. I can do that myself. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to come here. I'm going to paste it. Where's Node.js? Vite plus shed cn UI. This is for the controls. So there's a library of UI elements that are. It's like the Win32 of today. It's like the standard buttons and windows and things that you see on interfaces online. They're all shed cn UI, and why would you not? They just work. They're pretty. They work. They look modern. Why would you reinvent the wheel? Backend, serverless with Vercel plus Biotech Supabase. Doesn't matter, but auth, I'm just going to use Supabase auth, payment Stripe, but that will be out of scope. Out of scope right now. Video, oof, let's not do that. Video just links to YouTube videos or whatever. Of course, email resend is what I would use, but I'm going to just ignore it for now. Hosting Vercel, we said that. Cool. Priorities. Yep, perfect. So I think we're just gonna build phase 1. Shall we do that? Surprise! Ooh, look at that gamified engagement metric. How do you thought about this one? The more things you do, the more points you get. Monthly challenges. Basically get badges and things. Maybe that's worth considering. Anyway, this will be a lot if we just copy paste it into Lovable. So I'm going to get all the way to phase 1. Actually, this phase 1, and I'm going to go to any window. I'm going to bring over here. Lovable. Let's get started. Build me phase 1. Boom. Oh shit. Sign in. All right. And off we go. And so this should start building. Let's see if it does it. This is nothing to do with us. These are just These are basically ads
This
telling you what
is
Lovable can do.
good time for questions, I suppose.
Yep, of course, go for it.
So first, phase one, what's that supposed to mean?
Right. So it gave us
Oh, okay. Yeah,
um,
sorry, missed that. Yeah, sure.
so phase
Okay.
one looks like exactly what I had in mind. Oh, that made a noise. Yep. Interesting. Okay. So it's actually, this is new. These are new things I've never used before. So it uses their cloud for authentication and database. So they actually don't use Supabase, although Supabase is out here and we can connect it. But let it start. Let it start and then we'll, yes.
Then I have a couple of more questions. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, 1 second. Just let me check that this is
yeah.
actually doing the thing. Yeah. So I continue. Right. Oh, it's doing it. Okay, never mind. Cool. Yep. Sorry. Go on.
So you told it basically not to have a backend and to just use Supabase.
Yep.
Would you also do that with other projects where you kind of think, okay, maybe I'm gonna need a proper backend where I can call something myself later? Because I mean, Supabase is somewhat limited, right?
Correct. It depends entirely on what you're building. So to give you context, I'm doing this a little plug here. As you know, I'm working on longevidence.org. Ta-da. And the Wikipedia of all longevity interventions built by AI, revised by humans. Now, to build this, I actually run my own server. I have my own VPS in the cloud. I actually used Hetzner. I don't know if you know Hetzner. You familiar with Hetzner?
Yeah.
No.
I don't want to log in. I just want to Hetzner. Oh my dear. Okay, just Hetzner.com. Will that load it? Yes, finally. It's probably the cheapest and pretty reliable cloud that you can get. But what you get is a virtual server. So you have a computer they can connect to, which might not be a real computer. It's an emulated computer that, is one computer that pretends to be like 20 or something. But you connect to it via shell, via terminal, and you can run commands and you can install software and you can basically run your server yourself. So I do that. Why? Because I can do exactly what you say. I can run any code on it. So I actually use Python in the backend. I prefer that versus Node.js. And although Vercel in theory does run Python in the backend, it's very limited in what packages you can install and what versions of Python it supports. So if you're going to do fancy LLM stuff and you want to deal with embeddings or whatever, it might not work for you. So it actually entirely depends on what you're building, right? Anyway, okay, it's doing things. It's working. Can we actually see what it's show the edits? So apparently it configured the authentication. Let's find out if that's true. Apparently it made an image for our landing page, which is great. This is going much better than before. I've not used it in a couple of months, and this has really, really improved. This is just files, CSS files, JavaScript files. So TS is TypeScript, which is a type of JavaScript that doesn't run natively in the browser. It gets compiled to JavaScript. This whole stack just gets more and more complex the more you delve into it. But anyway, let's let it do things. More questions and ideas while this builds.
Yeah, so you said you're personally not using Lovable. So would you
No.
just copy paste all of this straight into Cursor?
I can show you exactly what I would do.
And the second question there is, so Lovable costs like 25 a month, but so Lovable gives me a code in the end. So I don't need Lovable afterwards.
Correct. So let's create a new window.
So I just need to pay once when I create it, and then I could put it into Vercel and GitHub.
You don't actually have to pay. This is free. I've not paid. It's doing all of this for free right now. a new account, no payments, no nothing. I just logged in and it just made this while it's still on it. We could do, while we're doing this, I can show you Google AI Studio, where you can build a, where is it? I guess you could just paste it here, right? Yeah. There you go. So you can come here and you can say build me phase 1. Boom. No, you have to click the button. So it's exactly the same, but it's even more free than Lovable. Now, of course, now that I noticed that Lovable does a bunch more stuff than I remembered, right? Now it does see they store your database, they deal with all this stuff that normally you would have to go and connect Supabase for that. Now they're doing it. I imagine it's still Supabase, but they're hosting it. Like this database is definitely Supabase because it's a Postgres SQL initialization. This is how you create your tables for where you store all the things. You store the list of videos, you store the, what else we have here? Profiles, different roles for the profiles. Did you authenticate? You sign in? Which tier are you on? So this is all like the data model that it just created for us. Alrighty, wait, here it is. Got it. Boom. I want to become a vitalist. I want to sign up. Will it work? Yes, I'm Bob. And I'm Bob at Bob. And my password is Bob. Change your password. This is hilarious. Apparently somebody used the password Bob. Anyway, welcome back, Bob. I'm not sure that this actually did the authentication or is mocked. Doesn't matter. You know, it demonstrates what we wanted to see. So here is your members only area with, look, like your impact, your score as a vitalist, and continue learning. Oh, look, the videos section that there are none of yet, but there are events, which I guess would also be empty. No, this one doesn't even go anywhere. This one doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, so we only have the video library built. But that's pretty nice. I think this is pretty cool. Like it got further than I expected. And now if you click this publish button, it should, oh, I haven't clicked the button, sorry. Okay, I clicked the button. And now, when it says it's done, excellent, it's done. There it is, it's public. Let me paste it here. Where's the chat? Do we have a chat? Damn, I can't find it. Where's the chat when the window is floating? Apparently I'm failing.
Up, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then it should appear. Or you need to minimize the window, or like make smaller.
Maybe I need to stop sharing. Oh no, I found it. I found the chat. Oh my goodness, that was far. Oh yeah, okay, you found it anyway. Thanks, Dave. You got it. So there it is, a very first version that is already deployed and apparently does a bunch of stuff. We need to check that it's actually doing what it says it's doing. Most likely all of this is mocked, right? It's not actually creating an account. It's not actually like, of course, like it is?
I just logged in with your account.
You did. All right.
I just paid $129.
Gotta change that password.
Or it was in a leak, or it's actually not checking at all, and just whatever you put in there will let you in.
I tried the wrong password first.
Yeah. Oh wow. Oh my goodness. It worked. We have a full like authentication and everything. That's great. Well, anyway, so okay, so we have this. Now I'll show you what I would do at this stage. You could, of course, continue Lovable, and apparently that is an increasingly solid option versus what I used to know about it. But if you so choose, which I normally would, I would come back here and I would say, okay, this is really nice. It's a good starting place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect GitHub. You see the GitHub icon here in the top right, the Octocat, and I click on Connect GitHub. And all right, let's do it. I'm going to connect it to my own personal account. And now it gives you this warning, which says, once you get this code out of Lovable, it's your responsibility. They don't store it anymore. And so it is on GitHub, but if you delete the GitHub or whatever, then it's gone. and there's nothing they can do about it, right? That's why you get this warning thing. And I'm like, yep, that's okay. I just want to take it out of here. Bidoo, bidoo, bidoo. And now this is here. Ta-da! And this is GitHub. And my Lovable project is my own. It lives in my own GitHub. Now I want to make sure here that this, how do you check visibility? Oh. How do you check the visibility here? What am I doing wrong? They move it? Damn. Well, I would go in here and make sure it's private instead of public. Oh, there it is. Visibility. Oh no, it's private. Okay, all good. This is a private repo. So you have your own private repo with the thing that Lovable built you. What do you do at this point? Well, you get the code, right? How do you do that? You have Git installed on your command line. There are tutorials for how to do that. I won't go through it. I already have it. So all you need is this link, and you need to open a terminal here to open a new one. And you go wherever you want to go. I have this catch-all folder called NLP, and I'm just going to go git clone that thing. And I'm cloning the repo from GitHub to my computer. So this now lives locally on my laptop. So now I can go to cursor and I can say open folder, and I can open Vitalis Nexus. This thing is in the way, and boom, there it is. This is my Lovable built project. And from this point on, I can iterate. I can just do whatever I want in here. So for example, I can actually ask this guy. So, okay, cursor, a quick intro to cursor. It's like an integrated development environment, an IDE. It's in fact Visual Studio Code with a bunch of plugins and things put on top. The main one being this side, where you get to chat with models. And the cool thing that it has that, you know, Claude Code won't have or Codex won't have is you can choose models that aren't Claude or GPT-5, right? And so, for example, right now, Grok is free. Grok is fully free. Grok Code Fast, you can just run it for free. And so I do. And so I ask it things like, can you explain to me how the authentication works in this repo? All right. And so it will go, it will think, it will start reading files, and it can explain to me how this works, and it can change it. And I can say, actually, add this thing. Oh, there is a Supabase client set up. Oh, with local storage. Okay, interesting. Yep. All right. But currently we have no confirmation of email, do we?
Sorry,
And
one
it's going to-
question,
Yeah, go for
if
it.
I might interrupt.
Of course.
The questions that you just asked, you could you have asked them also on Lovable or
Yep.
not? Yes.
Yes, of course. It's just Lovable is limited in tokens and things, and then eventually I would have to pay, right? Here, it's free. I'm running this that actually runs for free. Or if I was, you know, using one of the cursor things, it would be included. Yes, you have
And
follow-up?
what you have built on Lovable, you could have built it here as well, or not?
Yep. Yep. But it makes sense if you don't have like you know, if you've not been building for a while and you know exactly which stack you want to use, et cetera, it's a good starting point. That was the point.
Okay.
And as I said, like, I'm impressed with all the things they're building, so that's actually getting better and better. So at some point, you might not need to leave Lovable, but for me, I still prefer to keep my code and edit it locally. And there are reasons. So one of the reasons is, well, I just like to have control. Another reason is this on the left-hand side. This is GPT-5 Codex that I can run for free. Well, not for free. It's included. It has a number. Oh, apparently, never mind. Apparently, I maxed out on this week's usage, so I can't use it right now. But with your ChatGPT subscription, you get loads and loads of tokens of GPT-5 Codex, and it's really good. It's really good at building apps. It's really good at debugging, particularly front-end stuff. It's actually amazing at that. It's really bad at running command line stuff. It's really bad at running container stuff. It's not actually that good for backend. Claude is amazing at backend and containers and planning and debugging those kinds of bugs, but it's actually pretty bad at building a full app from scratch. It does a pretty poor job. If you just say, here's my full spec, build it, it's actually not as good. And then I have all the models that I can run here, right? That I can actually add manually. So you could also add more models. Then you bring your own keys and then you pay for them, etc. So you can bring in everything in one place. And so that's what I use. I use Cursor because I get every model with also every plan that I'm paying for, getting as many tokens as I can out of it. And yeah, so right now Grok Code is pretty good simply because it's free. So it's a decent enough model. It's a bit worse than Claude, but more or less on par, but free. So you just cannot compete with free. So you're correct. We are not currently confirming the email. Remember, I put Bob at bob.bob and he went, yep, sure, that's fine. And so what should happen? Well, this should happen. We should send emails, blah, blah, blah. The code doesn't handle confirmation flow. Recommendation. We should enable it in Supabase, da, 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 da. So we should go to Supabase and enable this. Now, the thing is, what is the Supabase endpoint and token key and all that? Because I suspect this is Lovable's Supabase instance. I suspect they're running Supabase and they're connecting to that. Let's see. Nope. No, they actually set it up on actual Supabase. That is pretty awesome. And so we could just go to Supabase. Let's do that. This is very unstructured, guys. So like, feel free to jump in and, yep, go for it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Daniel. Kind of like what I'm looking to take away is like the workflow, or maybe at a higher level, how do you evaluate? Is it just trial and error? Like you're basically showing me Codex, you're saying it's good for this, bad for this. You're showing me Claude, you're saying it's good for this, it's bad for this. Is that just
Yep.
through trial and error, or like do you follow certain people to see like the latest workflows? Because it seems like all this stuff is moving quite rapidly, but the core thing is that we're coding and it's time consuming. So it'd be great to like hear where you feel like you're making a lot of time saving. Yeah, that's kind of where my head's been going at. So appreciate your feedback.
So you mean
Like the
which
core
part saves
coding.
me the most?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that like there's the right tool for the job and that, but I guess like, yeah, and there's a lot of like syntactic sugar or like someone builds a service to make something easier. But at the end of the day, if you're coding, you're still in some kind of like loop where you give a prompt, you get something back, you run and test it. So I guess like, yeah, I guess I'm just curious about that more core loop that I think we'll always be doing some kind of coding.
Mm,
Right?
right. Well, it depends on which bits you're tackling. So if it's a specific bug, you have this loop of, depending on the type of bug, you already know more or less which model will do better, or you maybe start with a free one and see if it fixes it, and if it doesn't, you just kind of like ditch it, you revert whatever it tried to do, and then you go to Claude if you have tokens on Claude, and if not, you go to Codex, etc. Right? So I have like some sort of like decision tree, right? Depending on what I'm
Yeah.
doing. If I'm building out a new feature, I go through this whole thing. I go with Claude Code, I say, let's build this together. I can show you, for example, so for longevidence, you can, let's call it a green here. Yeah, so here you can see that I have this folder. Damn it. I have this folder called Vibes. And inside Vibes, I have all of these plans that I built with Claude Code to implement stuff. right? So for example, here's a plan to integrate the user accounts of a external library that I'm using for the comments and a new section that I'm building. So I have the same user accounts and you don't have to sign in twice for two different things. Or here's this thing where we want to test the LLMs that create pages and we want to see that they're working as they should. And here's a plan for how to implement those tests, etc. So all of these, in the vibes folder are plans to do stuff that I create with usually Claude. Then I will give this to either GPT-5 Codex if I have enough tokens, or sometimes Grok will deal with it. And then there's this amazing one called Composer One, which is Curse's own model. Came out maybe like a week ago, and it's pretty good and insanely fast. It's like 4 times faster than pretty much anything else. Like it's 10 times faster than GPT-5 in my experience. So I can just ask it for whatever. I can say something like implement the missing section on, what was it? On upcoming events, right? I can literally just say this and watch it work. Let's see, thinking, checking, reading. And that is the speed, right? This is, see, it actually, oh wait, no, I put it in the, I put it in the wrong plan. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is worth talking about because like they do research into like how long it takes you to get a feedback loop, and if it's more than like a minute, then you lose kind
Yeah.
of the flow. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks so much for sharing that.
No
That's
worries.
really
Okay,
helpful.
I was in the wrong window. So now I'm in the right window and I put the same prompt in the right window. And now this should actually do exactly that. So remember how long it took Lovable to write that code? See how
Yeah.
fast it writes code, this one. So at the end of it, boom, done. That's it. We've implemented a version of that thing. Now, this is running locally. Well, it's not running right now. Okay, this is what's it? Vital is Nexus, right? So npm run dev. No, because I need to npm install. 1 second while it installs the Node.js stuff, and boom, we have a running project on localhost. So this is the
Right.
same page that you saw earlier that was on Lovable's infrastructure, but now it's running on my own computer locally, right? And so now I can sign in. Do you think it will work? Was that Bob? Bob? That Bob? It's Bob. Bob. Yep, it works. Change your password. All right. So if we go to upcoming events, nothing happened. I'm like, bro, I'm quitting. All right. And so it'll be like, shit, I didn't link it. I'm sorry. Okay, here it is. Should go now.
So if you want to include some local files, let's say pictures or something on the website.
Yep.
How would you do
Yes.
that?
Okay. So hold on a minute. Let's check that. I guess, yeah, so I put it on the events thing, but I guess it didn't get what I'm trying to say. Okay, never mind. How do you put in local files? Well, let's find one. Wisdom.io. Whoa, is it not Vitalism.io? Okay, there it is. This one's a file that I might want to show. Okay, and now, okay, so let's vitalism.io. This is, yep, the right place. So I'm gonna put it here in public. All right. And I can just go add the vitalism PNG to the page. I'll get it.
And you could basically make the same with Lovable or unlovable.
Yeah, also, yes, there it does have some sort of file management. Let's see. Cloud code, no, looks like it's here. Yep. Storage. Yep. There you go. Oh no, but this is when users upload files. What if you want to upload files? I actually don't know. It's a good question. No buckets, no functions. I guess you drag and drop it here. It's fine. That is too bad. See the difference in speed. And so this one's done. If I get a local, there it is. It added it to the landing page, right? Just like we wanted it.
It doesn't even look
Vibes.
terrible.
This is what I'm talking about, front end, right? Like even Lovable, like this is
Oh,
it's
we can
fine. It's
fix
like
that.
very basic, but like yeah, I'm wondering how do you spice
We'll
things
fix
up?
it. Don't you worry. We need to spice things up with the design of this page. It looks like dirt. You're gonna make the best design that you can think of. You're gonna make it look like something that will make Steve Jobs proud, like a spa in Sweden. All right, off he goes.
And then in the meantime, can you show the result on Lovable?
This is not Lovable. Oh, you mean you want to put the same
So if you
prompt on
give the
Lovable?
same prompt, yeah, see how they compare. That would be interesting.
Also, you did
Sure.
you already did something on Lovable, which should have included a picture now, right? On Lovable.
There it is.
Yeah, but
There it is.
oh, there it is. Yeah, you did. All right, cool. And now I'm just gonna put the same prompt in there. No, because you reached your limits. Ta-da! Sorry, I cannot demo that anymore. But let's see what Grok comes out with. Yep.
I just was curious to see the full. You couldn't really see the full page if it was also properly done with
Lovable?
Lovable.
No, it wasn't. No, it looks a bit like dirt actually. Don't really need security. It's just a bit. Actually, what is the error? I'm so curious. What happened? No idea. Updated, and so this is the updated thing. Oh, we just put it randomly after the problem. I guess. Cool. Right. This guy's still working. Where's our local version of it? Boom!
Whoa.
Wow. Look at that.
Uh-oh. I mean, it's definitely different. It's more slightly more unique, but it's still like
Yeah.
cringe.
There's also a
Yeah, no,
mistake. Like the most popular is kind of too close. There's not enough space, right?
Yeah, like
Oh,
this
it's
is
working
my
on that. Give
yeah,
it a
this
second. It hasn't finished. Yeah.
yeah. Let's see where it ends up. But it's just like yeah, that's why I always recommend if your primary purpose is just to create like an information
Yeah,
website
you're right.
that has like
Yep.
design that looks good, then you kind of want to
Yep.
start with a template. But I wonder if you can just like
100%.
import other people's websites or just say like browse to this website, get inspiration from this,
Yep.
and see if I can do it. Yeah.
That was also
So
a
there's a bunch
question.
of
Can I
ways. Yep.
Yeah, if I can just like give it a website and then use that as a spec and then basically put my information in. And is that actually a copyright issue?
No, that's not a thing. There's no copyright on designs. That just doesn't exist. Don't worry about it. And you can just make whatever you want. Everybody's cloning everybody else. Don't worry. If you find something you really like, you can do several things. You can use it as a template, as Nathan says. So often it will be a template, or somebody will have made a template of it on Figma. You can just find it. And there's a bunch of tools now that go from Figma to code. And with varying degrees of success, of course, but you get it a starter place, and maybe it's better than what you have, or you can screenshot it and then give it to Claude, and say, describe this in detail for a designer to replicate this design. And then it will tell things about the roundedness of the corners, the depth of the shadows, the color scheme, the positioning of the elements and the distance between them. It will output a bunch of these things. And then you can use that as part of your prompt. When you say, design it in this way, it won't be perfect, it won't be identical, but maybe it gets you closer to what you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you could also basically use Webflow and use a template for my website.
Well, you
And
can just
not
start with Webflow and use a template. Yeah, of course, you don't have to. The vibe coding is because you want to have something that has code running, right? If you just want a pretty thing, just use Webflow. Just don't stress, right? And maybe even like the actual business logic, you can get it, as a thing that Webflow provides.
Yeah, so one thing that you could also do, yeah, it really depends on what logic, like functions you need the website to do. If it's just like links, pictures, embed videos, then you really don't need to do vibe coding, let's say.
That's right.
But if you do want to dabble, I mean, you can always export the HTML code. Webflow really is just JavaScript, CSS, HTML. So you can export that and then just import it
But
into
but it's fucked up HTML. Like it's so full of cruft that it's
Yeah.
unusable. And I suspect it's partly on purpose, right? It's just their own HTML,
So
Yeah,
Webflow does let you download the code.
Yes, you can always export and self-host your own Webflow
Or I
site.
mean, you just look at the page and you go just like save page as, and you get all the files, and you can do that. It's just they're so obfuscated that you can't use them as a base to build on, right? So you then need to clean it up and then make your own version of it. That's the problem.
Yeah, there's yeah, as long as you're not using the CMS. So if you're not using their content management system, where like you might use have a template for a blog post, and then you have like a bunch of like a database with all your blog posts in it. That stuff can't be exported easily. Well, maybe it can, but it won't run as smoothly if you just do like a straight like save website or export it. Yeah.
I think Thomas had a question in the chat.
Yeah, I was about just about to address it. So yes, so Claude is just better at preparing, at specking. It's better at writing the spec. It's better asking questions. Codex for some reason doesn't speak like a human. The text that it outputs is incomprehensible even to me, and it's too brief. It tries to condense tokens as much as it can. It's basically like bad at writing product specs, and it's also not great at asking questions. It asks you 4 questions and it stops there every single time. Claude loves asking questions, and he goes 12 questions, 15 questions. You get pages and pages and pages, and that's really helpful. So that's why Claude first and then Codex. But Codex is better at implementing it. It has better long-term memory, awareness, whatever. Like it doesn't lose the plot as often as Claude does. Yeah.
So another question. So have you tried out just like the Claude Code, the raw, like running it in the terminal? Like do you not like that? You prefer cursor?
No.
Is there like advantages to both or either?
So here's Claude Code in the terminal. And it's exactly the same as this Claude Code inside Codex. Sorry, inside Cursor. This is just it's an extension for VS Code that brings this in here. So it's exactly the same thing, and you get exactly the same result. It's just a different interface. And I prefer this interface to the command line because I have too many command lines open. I don't know if you can tell, but it gets messy. Whereas this is clean and clear, and you can have like all of these different tabs, and you can move the tabs around, and it's for me it's more intuitive, and I like visual stuff. Like it makes more sense to me. But yeah, I use Claude. And wait, what can you ask Claude to do for us? Can you make the design more streamlined and classy and clean? It looks like garbage. So let's see what it comes up with. So we had the Grok code version, remember? Thanks. And now we're gonna see what Claude comes up with. We'll see.
So
We'll let it work.
you do have 3 paid plans for ChatGPT, for Claude, and for Cursor. And just to repeat that, as far as I understood it, you do have Cursor Extra because it gives you access to a few more interesting models. But other than that, like if it weren't for those models, you wouldn't
There is
need it
more.
because
There is more.
Okay.
So I'll try to give you some example. I think is, of course, I don't know this code. Like it's the first time I look at it, so I won't know anything useful to do here. But I don't know, let's say I want to add a section here. There we go. If I want to add a section here, it says, why don't you add the community section? Yeah, that's a great idea. And so this is called Cursor Tab, and it's the best autocomplete model out there. I use it a lot. I would go to code and be like, ugh, but I want to something. I'll just like hit enter and be like, how about this one? I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great one. It just, So it's really, really helpful for fixing bugs. So for example, let's see, I'm in testimonials. Okay, accept that. Let's say instead of member voices, I want to call it community voices. Oh, actually, correct community. That's nice. And see, now I get a suggestion for tab to jump here. I hit tab and it says what our community says. Oh, yeah, that's good. So this is a Cursor exclusive model that they built, and I get a lot of value out of it. Back in the day, they had an extra sort of value add thing, which was but they still do it. They would index your code base entirely in dense vectors. So like they would run it through embeddings, usually OpenAI embeddings, I think. And you would get this nicely indexed code base where you could ask questions like, where does this happen? Or how does the data flow from this component to that component? And you could just ask that question and you would get files as results, like bits of code that would answer the question. And this is really useful for the coding assistants, for the LLMs. Like they can generate these questions and it's faster to search the code base than to grep everything, which is, by the way, what Claude was doing earlier. If you remember at the top, see the grepping is just running patterns. It's like, find me all of the CSS files, find me the TS files, find me the thing. And often you will look for a particular word in all of the files to find all the files that touch a particular component or something. It's working. Do you think it's done something? Whoa, it did a thing. I'm not sure it did a great thing, but it did a thing. It also changed it.
Slightly better.
Oh, you like this one? Okay, so you like Claude as your designer then. Now you know.
Slightly better. It's still got issues.
Yeah, I mean this whole thing, this is totally like screwed. I can just, while Claude is working, I can tell this guy the bit is overlaid on top.
Yeah, so that's interesting. You're having 2 AIs compete with each other for working in the same files.
They're not competing, they're collaborating, and every
Yeah,
time
but
they do
I mean, it
edits,
might be overwriting something that the other thinks is still the old one.
Sometimes,
right?
sometimes it happens. Yeah, I'm trying to be careful. See, okay, like it did. There's a little change here. That's not quite what I
But
asked it
also-
to do, but okay.
Yeah. So there was this thing I saw on Twitter. Some guy created this open source code called agent mail. Have you seen this, Dan?
Oh yeah,
It's
sorry,
basically,
yeah.
yeah, it's just an MCP way for agents to communicate with each other about like the work that they're doing. So you can have like 3 or 4 or more agents working on the same code base, and they will tell each other what they're working on so that they don't interfere and step on each other's toes. It's really cool. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I want to try it actually. I haven't got around to it, but I would like to try it. The problem with it is the guy doesn't tell you, but he's burning millions of tokens for that. That's the that's the secret, the secret code, right? Thomas, which first prompt, the very, very first prompt, or the one that I got as the spec? The very first prompt. Well, I guess I need to find Claude. Right? It's the very first prompt. Looks like this. and it was totally vibed. So don't judge. It was not meant to be nice to look at. And yeah, anyway, I was just pointing at this and laughing because apparently we went from 300 to 1,247 active members. It's a great success,
Nice.
man. It's like one.
Oh, that is great. They increased our membership by so much.
Exactly. Because I was like, make it better. Okay, 1 million members. Wow.
Nice.
Oh, look at that. Policy wins. This is an interesting one, huh? Had you considered kind of checking, keeping score of
Yeah, for
policy
sure.
wins?
These are some good suggestions.
Yeah. It of course it gives you lots of ideas, and you take the ones that you find are useful or reasonable, right? And I'm still
Yeah.
annoyed that this upcoming event doesn't do anything. This still
Mhm.
doesn't do anything. The video
So-
library is there.
So Dan,
Yeah.
if you wanted to really make this look like super professional in terms of the front end design,
Yep.
like the actual aesthetics, are we just basically at the point where you just have to hire someone because we just don't have the AI tools to do it? Or do you think it's
Well,
if
I mean, okay, you see this. Okay, I'm not claiming that this is perfect, but you see what I've made here. I did this
Mhm.
myself. I did not start from a template. I just iterated. Like this is like the
Okay.
100th iteration that you see, right?
I
I
see.
absolutely obsessed over the animation that you see here. This is not like an existing code. I had to write this code. They kept getting it wrong. I kept having to redo it, and eventually it got it right, right? And so
Mhm.
it's if you just put in lots of time and obsession and like little details, like no, but I want the border to be this particular thickness and this
Right.
particular color, right? And you just keep
Mhm.
changing it until it does what you want it to do. Like look at these animations. I really
Mhm.
love these animations. These were actually almost one-shotted. Then I just adjusted the colors, the sizes, like I did a little bit of like moving the CSS around myself.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
a lot of it came close enough, like one shot, and then I just kept iterating. Like, I mean, for example, this thing, right? And of course, the magnifying glass was not orange but blue, and it was really tiny, and it was bouncing back and forth. And these files were like had shadows, and there were like one was green and one was yellow. It was like
Mhm.
so I had to just go there and go like change the color, change the thing, change the animation, make it simpler. So every one
Yeah,
of these
yeah,
little
yeah.
changes has a prompt behind it. And then I iterated. I'm not even super happy with it now, but this version of like where the number goes and what the text goes
Mhm.
and whether it's justified and what font it is and what the distance is between
Mhm.
the text and the moving icon. This is like iteration 7 or 8, right? I mean, I just
Right,
changed it
right,
so
right.
many times. So do you need a designer? I don't think so. I think if you're obsessed enough and have an eye for what you like, then you can do
Mhm.
it, but it's time.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think the main problem is it's just really hard to describe visual aesthetics with words, right? Like that's literally why, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I don't want to write those 1,000 words. But then I think the main issue is just like there's just some obvious things that like when you give it a first pass to like Claude or whatever, right? Like there's just like the spacing, right? Like the most popular thing. Like nobody would have put that so close, right? Like it just doesn't.
Oh, look, it fixed it.
Yeah. Okay,
Claude fixed it.
Okay, there we go.
Look,
Yeah.
the most popular is now where it should be.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I mean, I don't
So
necessarily like the
yeah,
colors, but I mean, it fixed it, so it looks all right, right?
yeah,
It looks like it's correct.
yeah. But that being said, I think like even if you had like a professional designer, right? Like it would take them, a
Whoa,
long
wait,
time and maybe
look, it got the data from the website. It actually did it.
huh?
Like
Well,
it
I mean the
took.
data's
It's not
okay.
perfect. It's not perfect,
Yeah.
but it went and it scraped the website, and I'm really happy that it
Yeah,
did
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and it got some
Yeah, yeah.
useful stuff. Yeah, sorry.
So I think the main issue is just like um it's like one step ahead, right? Like there's one thing about just like not having nice design in a website, but then the question is like just like do you even have a brand to start with, right? Like and if you don't even have like a brand direction of specifically like the feel and the color palettes and stuff like that. And I feel like if you just gave it to Claude and just told it like select a good color palette, like it wouldn't know, it doesn't really have a good sense of like what colors are um I don't know. I feel like it just doesn't know that.
100%. There are websites that try to help you with that, and they're not like AI anything. They have some like basic rules about complementary colors. I've seen many of them.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, there's one
Color
like
hunt.
colors. Yeah.
How about
So you
that?
can tell it to do that. But then
You
like
can literally just come in here and just copy it. Just go like, okay, I like this one. Just copy all the values and just give it that. It's like, this is my palette. That's it. Work with it.
I feel like there just needs to be like an AI kind of like, I don't know, spec where you just like describe the brand to it and it asks a lot of questions before it can really understand. Otherwise, like a lot of the stuff just comes out to look like, pretty much like a Lovable kind of like blank slate, right?
Yep. Yeah, design is hard, man. I'm not a designer either. I mean, I do the best I can. Yeah.
My I guess my dream kind of like brand design sort of thing would be just like, okay, I can just like, click a bunch of things in Pinterest or whatever. It connects to your Pinterest account and it just says, these are my inspirations. Now, like, just build something that like, like it can infer your taste. But I don't think we're there yet. Or maybe someone has built that, but I'm just not aware of it, what it is,
Yep. Yeah. There's this ineffable quality of design that is hard to capture even programmatically. So
yeah.
Well, if you have money, hire a designer. That's great. I just
Yeah.
I have zero
That's the
budget for
solution.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Well, do we have more questions? You want to see something else? I feel like I've kept you going for almost 2 hours. Yeah, go.
So this is now on local host. So it's on your computer.
This is on localhost, yes. So do I want to push it back to GitHub? Yes. How do I do that? Well, I'm in Cursor. I come here. Oh, by the way, there's changes that I made with Lovable. And so there will be conflicts. There will be merge conflicts, clean your repository. Yeah, let's not do that. So that's the issue that I've already made changes before. That's going to call it changes. All right, and now it's going to ruin it, of course, because I changed the same files twice, whatever. Oh gosh. Okay, now I have to. I hate it. Let's do it. Wow. No, committing is not possible. You have unmerged files. Fix them up in the work tree. How do I do that? Oh, I know how to do that. Okay. I'm gonna tell Claude to fix the merge issue with the main branch. And Claude will fix it. This is how I fix it. So it will do its thing. Claude is really good at this stuff. I trust Claude. And hopefully
I have a question. So before you tried to fix the events thing twice, and it still didn't fix the events link when you were logged in. But so my question would be, you're asking it to fix something twice without realizing, oh, it might have already fixed it. So in the second attempt, it might have done something stupid, and you only find out like 10 steps later. How do you kind of go back and figure out what it did, if it did something wrong, if it created extra files that are totally redundant? Like, how do you deal with potentially, screwing up your code base with too many files, code that's not necessary anymore?
100%. So this is like a quick, lightning demo. I'm not doing it right. But if I was doing it right, I would actually look at which component it is that I want to change. I will think about why I want to change it, what I want to change in it, and then I will describe it very specifically. I will check that what it did is what I wanted it to do, right? I would look at this, right? I would look at, okay, I made all of these code changes. Like, let me see. Actually, no, I don't like what you did there. Revert. Or I would go like, no, that thing you changed, you shouldn't have changed. Do it again, right? So of course you don't run through it like I'm doing. I'm just speed running it, right? And so I'm not looking at what happens, which is of course not what you should do ever. But anyway, just like the merge right now, I didn't even look at exactly what was clashing. I just told Claude to merge it. Probably will look like shit right now. I don't know. Like it took the changes from upstream and integrated them. No, doesn't look like shit. Oh yeah, this was the change. It was the adding of the image. Remember? So actually looks fine. Okay. So anyway, Dario, to answer your question, now I've added this to a commit. I just put some random comment in there. I click commit. There was this merging. So this was the Lovable thing, which now has been, let's see, the GPT Engineer app. That was the original name of Lovable. It used to be called GPT Engineer. So this is Lovable's edit, right, which was clashing with our edits. And so there was a merging that had to happen so you could find the right lines to equate and stuff. And Claude dealt with it for us, right? And now I've pushed it. I've pushed it to GitHub. So now if we go to GitHub, right here, it says, it doesn't say anything. Let's refresh. 2 minutes ago, right? So we can see that this is the latest version because we just pushed it. You see that there was a merge, right? That happened, and we see that Claude actually added itself as an author, which is always cool. And it said, I resolved this conflict, and this is what happened, and I did all these things, and boom, now it's pushed. Cool. And now if we go back to Lovable, see here where it says publish, we can just click update. I'm going to reload it just to make sure. Let me see, because I want to see in the preview in Lovable that we have the same version that we have locally. And I guess it's building the Vite package. Let's see.
Okay, so
Doing
but
its
your
thing.
main place is GitHub, as far as I understood.
That's where the code lives. That's what you
Yes,
sync
yes.
against and from. And it's not displaying it. What does happen? Why you not work? Wait, what? I had 58 page views. Wow. That's already so 8 visitors, guys. we're in business. Let's go. This is taking off already. All right. Oh, no, but it's still the old version. This is still the old version. Didn't catch the new version. Why did you not? Anyway, in the meantime, while Lovable decides to update this or not, why are you not, like, literally should be updating it. I don't know why it's not doing that. I think it might be the merge thing. Ah, see, unpublished. This one is the one that I want to publish. Cool. 0 free credits. Oh, maybe that's why it won't publish it, because of the credits then? I don't know, feels weird because oh, there it is. It did. Okay, so now I can click publish and click update. Yes, leave me alone. And it's working on it. And now we can go here and ta-da, we have the version that we edited locally, served by Lovable, right? So this is still on their infrastructure, their deployment. They're giving us the free infrastructure to run this on, and you can still see it there. But now the option that you have, if you want to do it right and you want to do it yourself, you can go to Vercel. You can, of course, log in, etc., create an account. I've already done that. And I can say add new project. And we'll see the Git repos if you have connected GitHub. There will be a button here to connect GitHub. I've already done that. And we have this one. And if we say import, I'll say, okay. Yes, my project's there. Feet. Where Where's the actual build? Yep, that is good. Environment. We need to import the environment file. So this will have the Supabase data. So that would be here. So this is all the keys, all the access tokens that we need. So we can come in here and we can paste it and just click deploy. And at some point, it will get around, of course. So now it's building, right? So what it's doing there is the same thing as if we were, nope, not here. If we were, nope, not here. I have too many windows. If we were here and I said npm run build, it's doing exactly this. So build creates a production optimized version of this site. So you can see that there's only these many files. So there's the image that we added. There's the index HTML, basic HTML. There's the CSS and JavaScript. That's it. This is the files. Instead of like, you remember that in the project here, we have like a million files, you know, all these TypeScript things, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. What we end up with is 3 files, which is bundled, optimized, sped up so that it runs fast in your browser. And so Vercel was doing exactly that, which I just did here in the command line. It was doing it on their servers for us for free, which is nice. And now we can go here and ta-da, this is deployed on Vercel. It's the exact same thing we had on Lovable, but now it's on Vercel. Does that make sense?
Vercel wouldn't have to do that, right? Like it could have just taken the source files that are not compressed and optimized and just taken those. You could have also published that.
No, not really. You still need to create a build. These things, so none of this will run in the browser, right? So this TypeScript file will not run in the browser. This is using a different dialect of JavaScript that doesn't actually run. It's referring to files that aren't real files, that are some like references to libraries, blah, blah, blah. So none of this will run in the browser. You need to create a build.
Right. Yeah. So on your local host, this is a node server or that's serving this?
Yes.
At runtime?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So when you go in run dev,
Vercel is not running node, it's just rendering it and then just serving the static files directly.
So this project right now has no actual backend. So there's nothing that happened, no logic that happens on the backend. There is only the front end stuff and the database stuff. But what it does have is this interface that allows you to see it as an app that you can look at. Wait, where is it? This one. There's like a thing that you can look at as if it's like deployed when it isn't, and it automatically updates the build as you edit. So whenever I change a thing, immediately that change gets reflected here. And that is npm run dev, right? It's not running Node, actually. It's just running the build thingy in the background. Maybe it is Node, I don't know, but it's not running the backend logic, not at present.
It's running a web server at the very least.
It's running a web server, that's right. And a thing that automatically rebuilds and re-updates the files live so that you see, you know, in 100 milliseconds, you see the change that you made. So if I go here, like aging, so see where it says aging, right? If I go like Bob, right? Then this changes to Bob immediately, right? Without refreshing, without rebuilding.
It's the byte component that does that?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's for developing. That's for like you being able to see the results of your changes immediately.
Right. So without byte, even if it ran a node server that is interpreting all these TSX files, whatever, it wouldn't update automatically. It would have to, you would kind of have to restart the node server for it to cache the files.
There might be ways to do it. Maybe you don't need Vite itself. Maybe there are versions, maybe there are other competing versions of it. I know that with Vite, that's the way it works. And again, right now, there's nothing happening in the backend. There's nothing running that, you know, the front end calls the backend does some stuff, and it goes back to the front end. None of that is happening right now. The only backend is Supabase. Right, so it's just the database directly. So the front end directly talks to the database. with nothing in between.
Huh.
And that database is not on this computer. It's somewhere in the cloud, and I don't even know where it is right now. I actually have no idea where it is. It's probably just run by Lovable. But
Right. And it's also not protected. So if you were to run your own, for example, Postgres server,
yeah,
users could, oh, let me think. Well, actually, Supabase is a better example. Like if you have some quotas on Supabase, and it's not protected, they can just, send unlimited user sign-up requests or something. And if that triggers something in the back end, makes you pay for Supabase.
absolutely.
It's an
I
issue.
mean, the moment you have actual users or data that you care about, it becomes this security nightmare, right?
Right.
You always have to make sure that every endpoint is protected. You have DDoS protection. What I would do is I would put it behind Cloudflare immediately. You know Cloudflare?
Yeah.
So these guys, for free, will actually protect your endpoint, which is really nice. And so instead of it going to, so right now, let me get the Vercel version. This is Lovable. That's localhost. That's Vercel, right? So if I go, oh dear, too many windows. So if I go there, oh, it cannot read. Of course not. Of course it cannot. Right. Okay. So if I want to see where this goes, let's see whether it is. But anyway, we have like an IP here, right? This is the actual server on which our thing is running, right? Now, if you put it behind Cloudflare, it wouldn't be this IP. It would be a Cloudflare ingress IP. And they have all of this like edge of cloud and many, many data centers, and they load balance their traffic, and they live update their DNS routes so that if you get like lots of traffic from a DDoS to one place, they kind of like protect it by deferring it to other nodes that deal with it. Like it's super, super smart. So anyway, you would do this trace route thing, right? And instead of going all the way to like here, it would probably stop at some Cloudflare thing and be like, that's it. It's just a Cloudflare endpoint. And you wouldn't even know where it's going, right? You wouldn't know what the actual server is. So yeah, that's what I would do the moment you care about it being protectable and stuff.
Right.
Yep. More questions?
Does
I
anyone
mean, we could
else
keep
have
going for
questions?
hours.
I have more,
Can look
yeah.
at domains and redirection and mail accounts. We can look at sending emails to authenticate. We can look at authentication with Google, everything.
I
So
have an
think,
easier question.
yep.
If someone so let's assume you want to open a website that is called vitalist.com or .org or whatever, and you don't want to be on Lovable. So you wanna be on a what I would call a normal website or how I mean. Let's assume you don't want to be on Lovable, but you want to have www.vitalism.com. How do you do that?
Yep. Okay. So domains. I use Namecheap. I like it. I recommend it. They don't pay me. So I have a lot of domains on Namecheap.
Yep.
They're cheap. They're like 10 a pop, and you can do a lot of things with them, such as you can set up your own DNS, but you can actually use their own email redirection or whatever. So say, for example, you've deployed it to Vercel. If you go to your Vercel thing here, deployment summary, nope. That's the deployment details, but that's not what I want. I want it here. And it's the branches, settings, domains. You go to your project settings, domains. Currently, there's one domain configured, which is the default Vercel domain, but you can add one and you can make it. I have some like random domains that I'm not using. Hold on. Oh, I know which one. Yeah, I have AIminions.xyz because fuck it was available and it was $2. So AIminions.xyz is going to redirect to our app. How do we do that? We go here, put that in there. Yep. Cool. And invalid configuration. Yep. So I need to do this. I need to go to my settings here to DNS. And where it says a record is that, I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm going to create a new one. It's going to be A. It's going to be that. It's going to be this. This is like, I'm doing it very fast, but it's explained here. Like you just follow the instructions. It's like not, or click here and learn more and it'll explain. Yep. And I also need a www. Okay, I'll do that.
The website that will be online is still your version hosted in Vercel, it just has another name.
Yes. Yep, that's right. But I think it's it's a CNAME. Sorry, yeah, that makes sense. CNAME. Yep. And this usually takes about half an hour to
Yeah, okay.
But hold on, we might be lucky. No, we're not lucky. This entirely depends on your internet provider. So actually, for you, this might be visible in 12 minutes, and for me, it might take an hour. Right? So it depends on how fast it distributes. Clearly, it's not there yet. We can check anyway. We can go here and go ping. And it's 216. Which one was the one? Oh no, it's correct. It's correct. So it's actually Chrome that's cached the thing, and that's why it's not loading. But if I go to, say, Safari is my go-to for debug because I never use it. No, it's not working. Maybe if I go W's, will the W's work? Ooh, okay. It's progress. So actually, the connection is not private, but why? Yeah, but why is it not doing HTTPS though? Or I can do this, or I can change the DNS servers to Vercel's. Oh, it's working, it's doing it. Okay, so they're going to generate the SSL certificates so that I don't get this. So an SSL is a secure socket layer certificates. You get this like public private key security certificate. And maybe once it's still generating, it hasn't done it yet. Come on. I mean, I guess it's free, right? What can you ask? What more can you ask of it? Valid configuration. I'm not sure because it's not loading. Well, whenever it's done with a certificate, then we will have a working domain. In the meantime, we just won't. Or, okay, hold on. I can just go advanced, do it. There it is. It works. Problem is, it tells you it doesn't have the security certificate because Vercel hasn't generated it yet. But when it's done, you will get rid of this not secure thing. But AI minions.xyz is now the Vitalism Foundation. Sorry, Nathan. Random redirect. Cool. Good. More questions? Guys, you're falling asleep. It's been 2 hours, I think. Maybe
Yeah, I
that's
think
enough for
it's good.
today.
If there's another question, I need to log off. But otherwise, I want to say thank you, Dan. That was great.
Pleasure.
I have more questions, but thank you so far.
Okay, Eric, you can stay with Dan. I'm gonna log off.
All right. Take
Bye,
care.
Ludwig.
See ya.
Bye.
Dario, you're gonna say
But
bye, man.
no,
See ya.
I just wanted to say thank you for the tips, and I definitely haven't learned how to code, but
You don't have to. That's the beauty of it.
I haven't learned how to vibe code, but I got some
Oh,
idea of how it works. So I'm happy. Thank you very much.
pleasure. Amazing. Good stuff. All right. Well, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure. Nathan, thanks for the Zoom and the company. And I guess we'll leave it here.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Cheers. Speak soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.